It's a brave new world. It's a brave new world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Fray. My name's Derry. You know the deal. It's a bunch of dudes. They play fighting games. I ask them questions. Tonight, we're going to talk about injustice with our special guests. Up first, he is the miserable little pile of secrets that was referenced by Dracula at the beginning of Symphony of the Night. Twitter.com/Hanzo Gonzo. It's Hanzo Gonzo. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Oh. Anticlimactic. In a warlike future where the only things that have survived are gangs of roving armed thugs who wander the wastelands on cars, he will be there farming for CPM. Twitter.com/NYCFurby. It's Arturo Sanchez.
Yo, what's good? When's DC? Nah, what's up, Capcom?
Like a much handsomer Nicolas Cage with a lot more hair, it's Twitter.com/Maximilian_. Maximilian is in the building tonight. How are you?
Video games indeed.
Video games. And last but not least, joining us, it's the champion of NeoGaf. And speaking of handsomer, tonight's replacement for Magus1234, it's Twitter.com/Blu-ray. Martin Blake, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. Tonight we are indeed going to be talking about Injustice. It released on Tuesday, and unless there is some sort of surprise announcement at E3 for the next-gen platforms, this may be the only major domestic release by a major studio this entire year for fighting game fans. So it's one that has been on a lot of people's radar. Obviously, the infamous license is also given it some notoriety and some press. Oh, Arturo's echo.
Yeah, it's muted. Go ahead.
Turn off the
Yeah.
Turn off your mixer.
Mhm.
Anyway, it came out on Tuesday. Tonight we're going to be talking all about it, going over the basics of the game, going over the game itself, maybe discussing it in relation to Capcom, whatever. My first question, I'm going to go out to Max, and I'm going to ask a pretty direct question here. It's what new features and changes have they made to the game that are different from other Mortal Kombat games that you think will appeal to Capcom players?
Probably the biggest one is the block button no longer being a block button, and it's hold back to block, more like traditional Capcom / like Namco games like Tekken. That's a huge transition, and my Mortal Kombat friends that were teaching me a bunch about MK so I can get used to Injustice, well, it's kind of funny because all that knowledge didn't really translate over, because I feel like Injustice is a lot more like some Street Fighter stuff than it is a lot of the MK9 stuff that I was being taught for a week. And I was trying to get ready to be good at this game at least somewhat before it comes out, because I haven't played much of MK9. And that's huge. Like that's a huge part of it. Besides that, like screen interactables and transitions is also one of those huge changes that's going to seem like really different for both sides.
So far, the opinion I've seen online being expressed by a majority of gamers seems to be that interactables and stage events are being received a little bit negatively. Hanzo Gonzo, let me get your opinion really quickly on interactables and stage events.
I think the transitions are a little dumb, even though they're like really hype. You know, you punch someone through 40 buildings and you crash into a helicopter and stuff. It's hype in tournament and stuff, but I think it kind of slows down the match, takes away the momentum of it. But it does benefit the person getting punched through the transition, because it resets it into a neutral state mid-screen instead of just being stuck in the corner. So I can see that being a benefit. But interactables are stupid. You can get out of them, but you can set it up so it's unblockable, and you just tack on an extra 20%. And on certain levels, like I believe it's Arkham Asylum, you get the pig, and then the whole match becomes fighting for the interactable, and it becomes a little dumb. But I think they should leave it in until it becomes a problem.
So it's kind of like Smash Balls and Super Smash Brothers Brawl, where the ball comes on and then everybody's just fighting for it.
I think only the pig is like that. The pig is god tier. They need to nerf pig.
Nerf the pig. Martin Blake, do you think that they did a fairly decent job of channeling the spirit of the source material into this game with the interactables and punching people through 40 buildings as Superman punches you into space and shit like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like that's what's been really great about this game is that each one of the characters fight pretty much the way they do in the comics, and they have like these each have these certain characteristics that really come through from the comics, and especially the environments as well. Uh, as far as the interactables go, going back to that, this is the second day it's been out, right, or the third day it's been out, and like eventually people are going to learn where to step, where not to step, how to avoid that stuff. Just I think people are complaining too quickly about something that no one's really taken advantage of or doesn't understand it too well. Yeah.
Arturo, do you feel like maybe some people are reacting a little harshly to the damage that they're seeing on display, especially when interactables get factored into the process? Maybe people are a little bit used to lower damage right now with games like Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter Cross Tekken, where the damage is not necessarily the highest. It's not like one-touch kills or anything like that. Whereas this game, you can sometimes, without too much effort, pump out 60 to 70% of somebody's bar.
Well, yeah, I should probably give a disclaimer. Everybody knows I worked on the game, and like we spent a lot of time balancing interactables. Like, I really think how like based off like the things that people have been complaining about, I think people are really overreacting. Yeah, like for sure that they're dirty. This game is designed to have like a bunch of characters doing like a bunch of crazy and dirty setups. That's why I kept calling it Marvel Combat all the time. But that being said, like people, it's still early, so people are gonna be complaining about stuff that does easy damage early on because people don't know how to move yet and they don't understand their meter options and what to do on defense. Because like there are several things that you can do like to get out of interactables. Although I do admit like they're very powerful, especially the pig. Like I would actually ban the pig for tournaments, but like every other interactable like, has a pretty interesting metagame around it. If you know that somebody's going to go for interactable, like you want to try to get close to them, set them out of it. You can armor through them. You can backdash through them. Like there's a bunch of things that you can do. But since it's day 2, or like some people got the game like a week early, so it's like week 1. People aren't really like using their meter efficiently and like really utilizing the space control that interactables have to offer. I think once people get better with that, like they'll stop complaining about interactables. And if you think that it's a problem, I think
I'll cut in with this, but go ahead first, Martin.
Yeah, like earlier you were talking about how Raven's really good at like stopping interactables. Is there any other characters that you would say do the same?
Yeah, any character that has armor and has full screen mobility really fast, like let's
Flash
say
also.
Let's say like Doomsday, like he has some great armor traits. Like if you throw interactable at Doomsday, it's not really going to do much. Like people really have to utilize like their armor and their meter correctly. Any other Flash? Flash, another good one.
Yeah, Flash has this move. I started learning the Flash specifically after this stuff started happening to me. This is mostly coming from a majority of playing online. I ran into 4 Deathstrokes in a row that sat full screen, and they picked one select stage. And I really wish I could remember the name of the stage, but I can't. But there's an interactable that you can jump up and you can throw. And the thing kept respawning. And I got hit by it like 3 times by Deathstroke at the complete opposite end of the stage, meter burning and just keeping me at full distance while I'm like Batman.
Are you talking about the robot flying?
Something. I think it was a robot flying, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kept showing up. And every time I felt like I got close, the robot would reappear. And boom, get hit by it again. And this was after, I mean, it was especially aggravating because I rocked this dude like a full health bar and about 50% left. And some guys really knew what they were doing, and some guys are obviously just straight going for every single interactable and going only for the stages that have it really good. And right now, if you have a little bit of like awkward network delay, because you can't choose how good the connection you want it to be in ranked, you'll get thrown into stuff that's like East Coast to West Coast, and you get against a Deathstroke, and it's like, this is freaking hard, no matter how good you seem to do at the start. So I made a tweet about it earlier because I was livid. I was like, this is dumb. But I could see that there's different things you can do. Like I've been backdashing through projectiles on good connections and stuff like that because like the backdash animations have a freaking ridiculous amount of invincibility. And there's a bunch of other things like Batman's bats. If you activate bats, that actually goes through projectiles as well.
Yep.
And other things, and that's why I specifically started playing the Flash, just because he's got this move, which I think is
he has a projectile invincible move. He has a projectile invincible move. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's just he just shakes the ground and things just go right through him, and I'm like, I'm gonna be using this for a while, and we'll see how it goes from there.
You can even backdash. You can even backdash like some of those cars that hit full screen with some of the big guys. Like I know Grundy, like you can meter burn the car in one of the stages, and it'll actually reach full screen. You can actually backdash it completely, even though it covers full screen.
Yeah, I can see getting the timing of it, but if you have any bit
Yeah,
of like
online's hard. It's
network
hard.
delay, it's freaking rough.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure. There's a lot of people like complaining about Deathstroke right now. I mean, partially because like people are getting bad connections, and partially because people don't know how to deal with them yet or know how to move properly.
Yeah, like you I kind of expect every Deathstroke to open up with the big spinny sword thing, and then you punish it, and then they keep doing it on wake up, and then you punish it, and you get the
Yeah.
really smart ones that start being really like, I'm not going to do that anymore, and it gets a little rough.
Arturo, what do you think players need to keep in mind coming from a Capcom or anime background, more traditional 2D fighters into this game? Like, what do they need to keep in mind to make the transition successfully?
Like there are a couple of things that a 2D fighting game player, especially in Capcom and anime, do that don't necessarily apply in this game. The first thing you have to realize is this is still like a Mortal Kombat engine, even though the game plays completely different. So what that means for strings is you cannot double tap for strings, and you can if you do a string, even if it doesn't hit them, like the entire string will come out. So people need to keep that in mind. They need to, but I think that's the major hurdle. Like the fact that you can't double tap, because like a lot of people, when I teach them at first, especially coming from Capcom, the first thing people ask me is, well, like, why can't I double tap? And I'm like, it doesn't work in this game. There aren't option selects like that. Like if you input your normals, it will come out even on whiff.
If you don't mind, I can also ask a question about like some of the mechanics of the game to you, Art. Is the special cancelable window purposely small for a lot of characters?
No, are you talking about meter burning or just doing like
Just doing specials in general? Like I've noticed with a lot of characters, and Flash is a really good example, that if you want to cancel into his like one of his special moves, the timing window can be really tiny.
Oh yeah, it also depends on the control input you're using. Are you using MK style controls or SF style controls?
I use
Because
MK. I find the SF controls to actually be way harder.
Yeah, yeah, like so between the MK and the SF style controls, there's definitely different input buffers on there. And
Okay.
even though I prefer the MK style controls, I will say that like for some characters, the SF controls are better. Like, and I'll tell you why. So I'll take Deathstroke again, for example. Like, since he can Tiger Knee his fireballs off the ground, and the fireball motion is a fireball in the Street Fighter mode, it's a lot easier to do them really low to the ground. And like that applies for a lot of few characters. So you might want to try both control inputs at first and see which one works for you. But I believe it's on a character by character basis.
Gotcha.
Hanzo, a lot of players come into games like these and they want to know immediately who's the best. I want to play the best. I'm a tier whore. I want to get on the ground floor with the best character. Day one, day two here. Who do you think's in the lead for the best characters on the roster so far?
Best characters: Green Lantern, Aquaman, and probably Killer Frost and Superman.
Oh wow, you weren't gonna say Grundy?
And then Grundy.
Yeah, bull. I was gonna say, I'm like, you chose Grundy.
Dude, how do you stop Grundy's super? Somebody tell me. I've always gotten hit by it.
You super it. If you can super and it'll stop
that
it,
goes through it?
it'll just stop it. Like the
Okay.
animation just stops.
Yeah.
But if you don't have super, he's
I
going to
don't know.
grab your ass.
You can
Yeah.
dash under him when he jumps.
You can try to run, yeah. I mean, I think you can do the run, but it is really hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's trying to be really good. Definitely.
So I'm gonna Martin. Do you see yourself dropping any other games to play this game?
Dropping. I mean, like, of course, Marvel and SF4 will probably always be a staple for me. I don't really see myself dropping in a game. I definitely would say that Injustice I would play longer than I would most other fighting games that have came out. Like, for instance, Persona 4. I love Tekken. I still need to learn that, but I mean, I've not played those games nearly as much as I've played Injustice so far, which has been like 3 days.
So do you feel like Injustice is a little bit easier to pick up than a game like Tekken, which, I mean, like that might be a little bit extreme. Tekken's, in my opinion, the hardest game to pick up. But
Yeah.
do you think it's a relatively easy game for people to pick up who want to try out a new game?
I mean, if you have background in either MK or Street Fighter, I think this will be pretty easy for most to pick up. There's a couple things we still need to learn, but for the most part, it's not a difficult game to get into.
Well, that's cool. Arturo, a lot of people have been talking about Injustice's story mode. and apparently a lot of people think that it's really great. I haven't heard very many negative complaints about it yet, so I'm gonna say that the majority of people out there seem to be really favorable about the story mode. But do you honestly feel at this day and age that single player modes or story modes or things like that matter in a game that's primarily competitive, like a fighting game?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like even the guys that don't care about tournaments are the ones that buy the copies and keep it going, like for the rest of us. So absolutely, like I do think it's important. I hope other fighting game developers like really pick up on that and really start trying to make robust single player modes, because I understand competitive games, especially fighting games, are not for everybody. So I think one of the reasons why Injustice is so hype is it appeals to casuals. You know, casuals can follow what's going on, unlike say Marvel 3, but it has like a skill gap so that top players can keep playing and they'll consistently get better and show improvement. But yeah, I absolutely do think so. Like there does need to be more single player content in fighting games. I know some of the Soul Calibers are pretty good on that.
Do you feel like this will possibly influence developers like Capcom to take notice and maybe beef up story modes in their future games?
Yeah, they already have. Like, I mean, I saw an article on Event Hub today talking about how Capcom wanted to add more single player content to their games, better story
on.
mode. Yeah.
Well, it's actually also happened in the past too. One of the biggest reasons that Marvel 3 got greenlit was the fact that MK versus DC was so popular.
I believe it.
Well, my next
It was
question
actually-
will go.
Go ahead.
Oh, go
Marvel
ahead.
or Injustice?
No,
Mean
like
Injustice, right?
way back in the day, like when MK versus DC was released and Marvel 3 wasn't a thing yet. That was one of the big reasons that game got greenlit and kept in production, was the fact that that game sold a truckload.
Yeah, that game sold so well, but I mean, like, you know, this is the first time I think it's safe to say, you know, besides MK9, this is like the first NRS game that has really, really, really been embraced by the tournament circuit, at least for now. But the other games, MKDC sold great to casual, but nobody played it in tournament.
So you feel like this time around, the NRS has hit a really good spot with this game where they've made a game that's going to appeal to competitive gamers, but they're also strengthening the fighting game community overall by releasing this this casual friendly title that's going to draw in sales that can help continue to fuel games in the future.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, just look at just look at the numbers on Twitch and look at the numbers on YouTube. Those numbers don't lie. Like, those are the things that the FGC has wanted for a long time. And, you know, like, as much as we talk shit like about stream monsters or whatever, and like, you know, we hate them sometimes, at the end of the day, we do want casuals to watch our game. So I think NetherRealm has done a great job at bridging the gap and setting the tone for future games.
Max, on the flip side of the token from the single player content, how's the online?
Online Injustice, you can kind of break up online and fighting games nowadays to two different factors, the netcode and then the experience. The netcode in Injustice, as we were kind of just discussing, is comparable to something like Super Street Fighter 4. I actually just put up a video on my channel that talks about like an overall review and does like a quick breakdown of all the online modes and talks about this stuff. But you can kind of get a similar example to Super SF4. Local connections feel fantastic. Mid-range connections feel really good. But you get anything at distance, like East Coast to West Coast, you're going to run into some problems. And my God, avoid overseas matches as much as possible. Holy hell. It's like the most frustrating thing in the world. Mostly because Injustice relies on there's like a couple different types of netcodes. There's a rollback netcode, and then there's a netcode that allows for a smoother viewing experience. So there's not any like jitters and animations and frame delay and stuff like that. And Injustice does that one, but in order to get that nice smooth viewing experience, you sacrifice like input delay. And so the worse the connection gets, the more input delay you have. And generally the more like accepted way of fighting games nowadays is like the GGPO method of like storing frames, and that requires a lot of CPU power. So it makes sense it doesn't have it, because it takes a lot of freaking work on our like 8-year-old consoles now. But luckily, even though it runs good most of the time, there's a lot of other stuff in Injustices Online that is like totally worth it. Like there's a couple of modes in player matches that are totally freaking fun. Like I'm like addicted to Survivor. You just sit on like the top of a ladder match and you lose health, and you actually gain a little bit of health back. I kind of think of it like CVS2 at the end of like the next round, and the next character comes in, you get like a boost of health back. And if you do really good against the next guy, you're going to end up with full health. And it makes it interesting to sit on top of this ladder as people keep trying to challenge you. I like that one a lot. And the only thing that does bug me is that in ranked mode or in ranked 1v1 specifically, the game gives you no options. It doesn't give you any options for parameters as far as ping or network connection quality or pairing up with people of similar or lower or same rank or anything like that. Like I'll go up against a guy that has like 500 wins and 20 losses, and then I'll go up against a guy that is 0 and freaking 0, and it's like, this is an interesting transition. So I wish there was a couple of other options in ranked 1v1, but for the most part, it's really good, and it's actually a lot of fun to be had when things do run really smooth.
And by the way, not to draw too far off the discussion we're having here, but you could get a lot of great Injustice content from the YouTube channels of Hanzo, Maximilian, and NYC Furby, and I'll give you guys the links later on in the show before we go off the air. But all three of these guys have been putting out good quality videos this week with tutorials and combo videos and things like that, and walkthroughs and overviews. So stay tuned. We'll give you guys the YouTube channels tonight. Hanzo, Mortal Kombat is at NCR, Injustice is not. Mortal Kombat is at EVO, Injustice is not. Considering the fact that as of right now, there are a lot more people that seem to be interested in Injustice versus Mortal Kombat, do you think that possibly Evolution might have to look at shifting or transitioning? Is it too late in the game for them to do that? It would even be possible. Do you think they should?
They probably should if they want entrance, because new games breed entrance generally. I mean, Street Fighter X Tekken came out around this time and it was in the first Evo that it was out. So I think they definitely could do it if they wanted, but I think seeing as a Road to Evo tournament has already passed, it might screw things up a bit. And people have already paid to go to Evo. Maybe they made plans to go to Evo to just play Mortal Kombat. You'd be screwing those people over. So I don't think they should just outright just get rid of Mortal Kombat. If they want to add another tourney because they're insane, sure, they could do that. But I think it's going to be there as a side tournament, and I would hope that Warner Brothers would pick up the slack and maybe throw one of their crazy tournaments just to fill the void. Because right now, there's probably not going to be any Road to Evo events that are going to have it. So it's kind of a big deal for tournaments.
Martin Blake, do you feel like this game has legs to be a competitive game? I mean, it's one thing to be really hype about the game when it comes out, and it's got superheroes in it, and most fighting game players are kind of big nerds, and we all love superheroes, and myself included. And I've been looking for a quality DC Comics fighting game since I was disappointed by Justice League on the Super NES when I was a teenager. Do you think that Warner Brothers and NRS are making the right decisions with this game going forward, that it could possibly find, I mean, we could debate about whether or not it would ever be able to take on a company like Capcom, but is this going to be able to find traction and move forward as a long-term viable competitive game?
I really hope so. I mean, it was smart for them in the first place to go to tournament players, to get their advice and to tweak it out and things like that. It seems like they really want this to work as a tournament fighting game, giving people options to turn off interactables or, environment stage changes or anything else like that. So it sounds like they definitely want it to be tournament viable, but it's really up to the community. I mean, the community needs to at least give games a chance, and there's been many good titles that honestly don't get enough spotlight because of the community not giving games a chance. Like, for instance, Andrew not caring for Injustice whatsoever. He's not even going to give it a chance. I really hope he would, and hope he does in the future. But I mean, I would say it really rests on the community, and that's one thing that I kind of hope we can do more often. Is like, Tekken is just like one of those games that is really enjoyable to watch lately, for me personally. But we don't have that many people who are interested in that type of style of gaming. They're more interested in anime type games. But I feel that Injustice, the way that it plays, is close enough anime wise, with certain abilities and moves and powers that I think anyone could really get into.
Arturo, you were a part of that contingent of tournament players that NRS reached out to strengthen this game in the pre-release stages. What choices and features do you think that they've made or added to the game that are going to give this game a better shot of being viable long term and appealing to competitive gamers in 2 to 3 years?
Oh, no, oh well. No, well, first off, like with the way games are these days, if a game lasts longer than like 2 years, or if it's at Evo more than twice, I would consider it a success in the competitive circuit. But ju- just from the jump, because obviously, like when we got there, like there's a lot of bouncing to do. Just from the jump, you could already see how NRS was really trying to appeal to the tournament crowd. Like Martin said before, like the options of the options of turning off interactables and transitions, the improved button check menu, like you can change your button selects at the character select screen for both characters. How like all that stuff is really great for tournaments. And even the way that the matches play out, like I mean I know it's still early, so we're not seeing too much crazy damage yet, but um as far as how this game will turn out in tournaments, time wise, it's a very, very fast game. You're gonna have people dying in like 20 to 25 seconds, of game time. When people really, really get good. So like what I said is true about the game came out. Like I said, you're gonna die in four mistakes. I think like that holds true, and I think like the high damage factor is gonna be really, really hype for tournaments. But like Martin said, it's all up to the community. It's you have the greatest game in the world, like Tekken, a game which I really I enjoy playing casually, and I love watching it, and I love watching high level play. But if people like don't support it, then it doesn't matter how good the game is. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But everything is set in place for it to blow up at tournaments, I think, except for it not being at Evo thing right now.
Things also like really boil down to like nowadays like sales, like especially considering the Street Fighter 4 rise to fame and like the growing of the community that game brought. If we have games like like Ultimate Marvel 3 didn't bring that many people like into the community immediately. It just kind of gathered a very strong fan base within the competitive community, but didn't sell well, so the game doesn't get support anymore. You know what I mean? And Injustice has a chance to potentially get people into the community because it's like a new title. It's something that people have been wanting for a long time, like an actually good DC fighting game, and which Injustice completely fills that category. And it brings in all these new people that would potentially be asking questions or wanting to go to websites or find out where do I go to get better at something or to figure out what I need to do against something. And that's when the curiosity of people brings them to websites where they understand a little bit more of what a fighting game community actually is. And I think Injustice actually has a chance to do that. But sadly, that situation happening with a lot of people is dictated by sales. And a game needs to sell like a lot of freaking units in order to convert, a smaller percentage of people into the community. You know what I mean? And that's what sucks with games like, Persona and Tekken, albeit how freaking fantastic they are and how good they run online. They just didn't have the sales for some reason to back it up. And a lot of people didn't, the convergence of people and the percentage was not that great. But I see with Injustice, it's fulfilling a category that has been unfulfilled for quite some time. And like I said, it's a proper good DC fighting game. So I just hope that it might actually do something and make a big dent.
Arturo, I'm going to throw some names at you. These are names of Street Fighter characters, and you just let me know real quickly which character, if I play, for example, Ryu in Street Fighter, which character would be good for me to pick up in Injustice. We'll start out real quickly. If I play pokey type characters like Bison or Balrog or Chun-Li, what type of character should I check out in Injustice?
Maybe you should check out Aquaman. Like, if you're looking for a character that has space control and strong pokes, there's no charge moves in the game. It's just tap back forward. But yeah, like I would say Aquaman.
All right, characters that RTSD.
Characters that rush down. I would say Nightwing. Nightwing is a really good rush down character. Flash as well.
Hey, earlier you referred to the game as Marvel Combat, talking about setups. Are there any characters that focus specifically on Vortex-like setups, like what we see in Street Fighter 4 with Akuma, Viper, El Forte, and characters like that?
Yeah, I would say Killer Frost as a Vortex, especially with their trait. Somebody actually, Combat Houston guys, they just posted some dirty setups with Killer Frost using her trait. So it's like her trait allows you to do combos that you normally couldn't do, and it freezes them there. Like she is the Vortex character right now.
Let's say I like to play grapplers. I like to play Zangief. I like to play T-Hawk. Who should I pick up in Injustice?
you should pick up Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
You should pick up Solomon Grundy. You should pick up Bane. You should pick up
Doomsday.
yeah, Doomsday.
All right, I like the projectile zone. I like to throw Dokens. Who should I play in Injustice?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again?
If I like the projectile zone, if I like to throw Hadokens, who should I play in Injustice?
You should probably play you should probably look at Green Lantern. You should look at Sinestro, Deathstroke. Oh, there's a lot of zoning characters in the game. Like half the cast is very projectile heavy, so you should play those characters.
I got a question for you actually. If let's say, or who do you think right now is a character that people should be using but are not using right now, like the most underused character?
Like I mean, I say it's a lot of the cast. Like basically in tournament play, like people are going to, of course, like the day one easy mode characters. Most like a lot of people are playing Green Lantern and Aquaman right now, for what I've been seeing in tournaments. But I think people are definitely sleeping on Ares. People are sleeping on Harley Quinn, Nightwing, Green Arrow, Flash. There's like so many solid characters in this game. There's so many solid characters in the game that people are sleeping on, but they're not day one characters. You just can't pick them up and play.
Right on.
I've been messing around a lot with Flash, and he can get like almost 50% off of a random overhead.
Yeah, his overhead
with trait, and the trait builds up really fast. So it's like a meterless thing too. So he's a little awkward, but it gets ridiculous.
Yeah, his overhead is safe, and so is his low. So like he's very hard to block on knockdown. Yeah. Some of the best Okizeme in the game.
Hanzo, who has the coolest story? Who's the coolest character in the overall story of the game?
It would have to be. Well, I'd have to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it.
Don't spoil it, Jesus.
Okay, it's Solomon Grundy because.
Wait, don't spoil it.
It's Solomon Grundy because he's the boss and he doesn't give a shit during the entire story. He's just there. He's like, oh, whatever.
He was only alive for 3 days, so I mean.
No, I could do the whole nursery rhyme if you want.
No, let's pass. All right, so if you guys want to see more Injustice action from three guys who have been messing around with the game Hard Body, you can check out the YouTube channels of three of our guests tonight. You can go to youtube.com/user/thewasteofflesh for Hanzo Gonzo's YouTube channel, where he has some really awesome combo videos. I was actually watching his, speaking of, Solomon Grundy combo video earlier. You can also check out youtube.com/user/FGC for Arturo's YouTube channel. He's got a lot of matchup videos. I see the first video that's come up is him in a match playing Sinestro, so that's cool, and a bunch of casuals. And then you can also check out Maximilian's YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/miles923, where you can check out his video reviews, his online breakdown, hero combos for Superman, Batman, the Green Lantern, and the Flash, and beginners tutorials, things like that. So various types of content, various levels of content for you guys to enjoy, casuals and tournament players alike. Check out those three channels on YouTube. And then not related to Injustice, but make sure you guys register for NCR. The last day to do that is online is Saturday. And we are going to be streaming that tournament next weekend live from Sunnyvale, California. It's going to be a I Play Winners Cross Team Spooky event. First time that we have done it together. I mean, whenever there's a Team Spooky or I Play Winner event, if there are members of each faction in the area, we always team up and form a Voltron. But this is the first time we've actually done the thing together. So NCR 11 should be real special. We'll have the man himself, Spooky, holding down the stream on twitch.tv/Team Spooky. And then Harrison and Chris Egg will be holding down twitch.tv/iPlayWinner with commentary from all the West Coast heavy hitters, Ultra David, James Chan, Magus 21234, some other bums. Make sure you guys tune in. It'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, next 26th, 27th, and 28th. I don't think we're going to have a show next week. Because
Civil War is happening. Civil War is happening tomorrow, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first Injustice tournament.
Yeah, so if you guys want to watch more Injustice, check out Civil War tomorrow.
Is that on Team Spooky's channel?
Yes, it will be on Team Spooky.
Right on. So check out Team Spooky's coverage of Civil War from, I believe that tournament comes from Virginia, right?
Someplace.
I don't. Some
place that doesn't count.
place in the Civil War.
If
you
it's
know.
not California, New York, it doesn't matter. So yeah, check out Team Spooky's coverage of Civil War this weekend. Check out our coverage of the Road to Evo event, NCR 11, next weekend, featuring Daigo's first tournament appearance in a Street Fighter tournament since Street Fighter 25, Infiltration second, possibly Salty Run back between those two guys. Make sure you tune in. Chris G's going to come and try to win his first NCR. Last year, he didn't even get top 8. This year, he has a shot at it. So make sure you guys tune in next weekend, NCR 11. Thank you to our special guest tonight, Maximilian. You can follow on Twitter, twitter.com/Maximilian_. Hanzo Gonzo, twitter.com/Hanzo Gonzo. Martin Blake, twitter.com/Martin Blake. No, I'm sorry, twitter.com/Blu-ray. Change your Twitter name, dude. Come on.
Dude, it's already has been changed. It used to be Martin Blake, now it's Blu-ray.
Oh, change it back. And twitter.com/NYC Furby to follow Arturo Sanchez. This was the Fray for, what day is it? Thursday, April the 18th. And in honor of the absentee Magus, yo, Fray!
Fray.
Well in France to find the purest bell. She showed up in